Let's talk about organizational strategies. The use of spatial details is an interesting method of organization for any type of writing. Spatial order means that the writer has presented details according to how the objects are placed in space, left to right, for example. The writer should pay very careful attention to detail in word choices so that he may draw a visual picture for the reader. Here is a passage from the novel Dracula. Before us lay a green, sloping land full of forests and woods, with here and there steep hills, crowned with clumps of trees or with farmhouses, the blank gable end to the road. There was everywhere a bewildering mass of fruit blossom, apple, plum, pear, cherry, and as we drove by I could see the green grass under the trees spangled with the fallen petals. In and out amongst these green hills of what they call here the middle land ran the road, losing itself as it swept round the grassy curve or was shut out by the straggling ends of pine woods, which here and there ran down the hillside like tongues of flame. Notice the words that help the reader understand the picture that Bram Stoker wants to draw. Before, sloping, here and there, steep, crowned, everywhere, drove by, under, in and out amongst, round and curve. These words give the reader a very physical sense of the land that the narrator travels through. Another strategy effective in essay writing is emphatic order. Think about this as the order of importance. Imagine for a moment about proposing to your significant other. Do you pop the question first? No. First the flowers, the romance, the build-up. Then you ask. Picture yourself as the defense attorney making his plea for his client. You want the jury to remember the most important reason they should acquit the defendant, so you save it for last. This same strategy works in writing. Three-point thesis statements lend themselves nicely to emphatic order. Write the 3 points you intend to discuss in the essay from least important to most important. College should be the necessary next step in a graduate's life because it will provide necessary education to secure employment, teach important skills, and keep the teen busy. What about this? College should be the necessary next step in a graduate's life because it will keep the teen busy, teach important skills, and provide necessary education to secure employment. Which of these two examples is in emphatic order? The second one, right? Is the most important reason that college should be your next step to keep you busy? I don't think so. The most important reason that college should be your next step is to provide necessary education to secure employment. That's emphatic order. Chronological order means telling something using time as the organizational strategy. Stories are very often told chronologically. Before I give you an example of chronological order, let me tell you about transitions. Transition words are signals from the writer to the reader that there is a relationship within the sentence or paragraph. These words help the reader move from one point to the next. There are several. Here are just a few. First, finally, later, after, before, then, next, in addition, for example, therefore, as a result, above, below, behind, however, but, such as, when, and while. Lots. So now I'm going to tell you a little story, and I want you to see how many transitional words you can hear in this short narrative. And the name of the story is The Night I Was Almost Killed by Aerosmith. Okay, I'm going to tell you this little story, and it's a true story. Many years ago, I worked for the local arena as a member of the event staff. And the event staff all wears yellow shirts, and they can show you where the bathrooms are and where the ATM is, and they can call the police if you need to be arrested. You know, that's our job. We're basically crowd control. So I worked many events, several major concerts from huge stars, some interesting events, meetings. I worked children's shows, comedic shows. There were several things. And my favorite place to work was the floor most of the time. One day, I was coming home from work and I heard the announcement on the radio that Aerosmith was coming to the arena. Before I can finish my story, I must beg you not to write me and tell me that you don't know who Aerosmith is. Please don't do that, it depresses me. At any rate, I was very excited. Aerosmith has always been one of my favorite bands. I'm not, like a groupie or anything, but I do like them quite a bit. And I immediately went home and wrote an email to my boss at the arena. And I asked her to please put me on the floor for the concert. Well, she didn't respond, which was fine. And so a few months had to pass until the night of the show. The night of the show, I went to work, very excited, and got in, went to sign in, and see that I am on the floor for the show. Well, now I'm nervous. I'm excited. It's a nervous excitement. Okay. But I am a little nervous. So I go in, and I'm on the floor, and we're all standing there, and several of us are talking. There are a lot of us that are Aerosmith fans. And the next thing I know, I look, and here comes my boss. Well, she takes several of us, 5 or 6 of us, and she places us in an aisle. And I want to kind of show you a little diagram of this aisle. Okay? First of all, this is the concert setup that Aerosmith was using at the time. Here is the main stage, and here is kind of like a runway stage. And this is all people, and there are people all over the place. But this is the runway portion of the stage. Okay? So my boss comes to us, tells several of us that Aerosmith is entering on the floor, and they're going to come down the aisle that she is about to place us in. Now I'm beyond nervous. So I'm realizing that the band is going to pass right in front of me, and I start to think of all of the things, how exciting that is, that these huge stars are going to walk right in front of me. I'm very excited. And then she tells us that our job is to keep the crowd away from the group. Well, that was a little frightening because the concert was sold out. But she reassured us that there were going to be a couple of security guys, what we call blue shirts, to accompany the band on the floor. So I'm okay with this now. I'm thinking, all right, no big deal. These people are going to be excited about Aerosmith coming, and they're going to have a couple security guys, no problem. So she tells us that as Aerosmith comes down our aisle, that we are to stand and do this. This is our procedure. And we are to make sure that our arms touch so that no one can cross over and get to the group. Okay, we'll get to this in just a second. So let me show you here. Here's the stage, okay? And here I am. Right here. That's me. Except I didn't have a smile for very long. And there was another yellow shirt here, and then there were yellow shirts here and here and here. Okay, all of us lining the way. So, we're waiting, and we're all a little nervous, and the place is packed. There is huge amounts of people on the floor. Must be 300 or 400 people on the floor, maybe more than that. And about 200 of them are behind me. So, we're standing there and we're chit-chatting, and the lights are up, and the people are all excited, and everybody's looking around, and then the lights go down. And the lights go down, and so all the yellow shirts in my aisle, we assume our position. And we're all touching hands, just fingertip touching, okay? And I look to my right, and I see some movement. Okay, the lights are down. It's pretty dark in there. There's only a few lights on the stage. I see a little bit of movement at the end of the aisle, and I realize that it's them. Only in front of them walks a security team member. Now, I don't know if you've been to arenas, but usually if you'll pay attention, most of the security people are quite large. They're football players. They're sumo wrestlers. They're big guys, okay? And they will take you out. So I look, and in front of him is the biggest guy that works on the security team at the arena. Now I'm reassured because I'm thinking, okay, we're all going to be safe. You know, here I am in my little position. I'm thinking we're all going to be safe. They've got the big guys. Well, that was not a very bright thing to think, because as the big guys are walking in front of the band, you see guitar, guitar. So you see big guy, guitar, guitar, which means, you know, band member, band member. And then there are 2 other band members. Surrounding them on both sides of the band members are more big guys. So I have big guy, band member, big guy, band member, big guy, band member, and you get the idea, right? So there are 8 security people surrounding 4 rock group members. Okay, I'm okay with that for the most part, until it suddenly occurs to me as I'm standing like this that there's not enough room for them to pass through the aisle. And this is a tiny little aisleway. Tiny little aisleway right here. And yellow shirts are here, and the crowd's here. So as I realize it, that there's not enough room for these people to pass through my aisleway, the crowd has all of a sudden noticed that Aerosmith is entering on the floor. And the 200 people behind me begin to get a little antsy. And they start pushing and shoving. And I'm standing here like this with my little arms out. And there's a guy next to me and there's a girl next to me on this side. And we've got our fingers touching. And at about the time the crowd realizes it, the group reaches us. And I'm telling you, big guys, barely making it through the aisleway. And I start getting pushed from the front. Now you see me. You know, I'm a no exerciser. I don't work out. And I didn't then either. And that guy starts to pass and I start getting pushed back against the crowd, because there's really no room for these people to pass, and I'm not supposed to move. I've locked my knees, my arms are out, and our security people are pushing me backwards. All right, excellent. But the crowd has decided they want to try to reach over us and touch the rock group. So the crowd is behind me jumping and trying to touch. So I'm getting hit from the front and hit from behind, and I'm starting to get pushed, and I'm thinking, I am going to die at the Aerosmith concert. It suddenly occurred to me I had no will, my children would miss me, and I started to get pretty pummeled. I ended up with a huge bruise on my neck, my back was messed up, I had somebody kick me in my knees, crowd. Thankfully, it only lasted a few seconds before Aerosmith passed me, and the crowd turned their attention now to the front of the stage. Aerosmith continued on their way, came up the stairs, and then came down to the end of the runway. So I'm a little upset at this point. I'm injured, I'm sore, I'm fairly angry at the people behind me who, were pushing me against the rock group. And as I turn to watch the group make their way and come up on the stage and come down, 2 of the members came here, Steven Tyler and Joe Perry came here, the crowd rushed the stage, and they took me with them. I had people pounding on me, tapping me on the shoulder, trying to get me to move the crowd back because they couldn't see. They're right here, the guys are right here. How can you not see that was my question. But there's something you need to understand about a rock concert. You can't hear people talk in a normal tone. It doesn't happen. So I had many patrons, many customers come and begin screaming in my ear that I needed to move people away from the stage so they could see. Well, I'm a little upset already. And now they're yelling at me, and they're not only are they hurting my ear, I'm still getting pushed from the people that are moving towards the stage, and they're trying to pack us into the stage. I tried to do my job. I tried to move people away from the stage. I had a lady push me off. I had several people get very angry with me, yell at me, make rude gestures, which I won't repeat here. And so I thought, I refuse to die at the Aerosmith concert. And I stepped back, and I walked to the edge, and I just watched the majority of the show. I'm surprised I didn't get fired. That may be why I don't work there now. I'm kidding. But at any rate, that was the night that Aerosmith tried to kill me. So how many words did you hear? I'm curious. I heard several, then and next and because and immediately. There were several that gave you an idea of how the story progressed. And notice that I began at the beginning with the story, and I told you how everything happened, and we talked about the progression of the night and the things that, that transpired. So think about that as a written narrative, okay? They're told in chronological order. There were several transition words, and those words advance the story, and they demonstrated relationships between each detail. The wonderful thing about organizational strategies is that you can easily combine them in an essay. They provide direction and help you communicate your purpose.